combined, the big events, it's all just killing. Today is actually the, maybe somebody will criticize why I'm talking about this, but it's the anniversary of 21 years ago, the biggest, tallest buildings in the world were destroyed, and about 3,000 people died. The World Trade Center. You know about that? Everybody know about the World Trade Center? Huh? So the demons if you go just by what you read in the newspaper, you can never understand anything, because the newspapers are owned by the same demons, or their chelas. See? Even big television corporations. In India, many of the television stations are owned by NRIs. What is an NRI? Somebody who claims to be a nice Hindu, but actually he's just a materialist. So he's interested in appeasing the superior demons, the big, hoping that his network maybe will, or his station will be bought by global, and he'll make a lot of money and become famous, maybe. See? It's like who is the director of Google? Well, there's some Indians who are heads of big organizations. They're very happy, they think, but they're completely, and they appear to be pious, maybe. People worship them, because they're so successful. But actually they are killing the Vedic system, killing Vedic practice by their complicity, by their being part of this demonic program to suppress religion, to kill religion. The demons, their business is money and power, and they can't stand the idea of God, Krishna. They can't stand, because why? Because God is actually the controller, but they want to be controllers. So these demons, they'll do such things that are so outrageous, but we don't know. The public doesn't know, because the schools and the textbooks and the radio and the TV, these are all owned by sub-demons, demons or sub-demons. So this 9/11, they say that some fellows, 4 fellows, with just a knife, like for cutting paper, that box, they captured 4 airplanes, big airplanes, and they crashed them into this tower, and the towers fell down. Now, that's what the newspapers say. That's what the books say now. But pilots who know airplanes and engineers who know buildings say this is nonsense. See, this building here this is a beam. You see they're building buildings here. Inside is 1, 2, 3, 4 bars of steel on this side and 4 more on this side, about this big, yes? And it holds up 4 stories, yes? And a water tank on top, and a dish antenna, and all kinds of things. So these buildings are 120, I think, stories big, high, and from here to the military area in the square. So those pillars were minimum this big, and the bars inside were like this big, and like 100 of them in each pillar. So 120 stores. So when the wind blows, hard wind, just imagine how much force. So compared to that force, the airplane is made of aluminum, just some like Coca-Cola can. So how much weight does the airplane have? Nothing compared to the wind. But they say because the airplane hit, it fell down. Or they say that the fuel in the airplane caused fires in the building, and the fires melted the steel. They say office furniture was burning. So if my printer catches fire, I don't mention the computer, I mention it because the printer is not working. If the printer catches fire, can it melt the steel beam, the steel rods in this pillar? No, it can. It will. It'll make some dark mark on the ceiling. That's all. So it simply lies, and this is, when that happened, all the newspapers, all the TV stations and networks, their reporters rushed to that place, that part of New York. And almost all of them, out of 35 reporters, almost every one of them said, well, I'm running, and now there's another explosion. That means there was an explosion. After, even there was no airplanes. Nobody saw airplanes, actually. People, their minds are influenced, so they say there was an airplane, because they're become brainwashed. The pilots say you cannot do that with a big airplane. You see the pictures of an airplane hitting. It is not possible to do that. So that was on television, they showed, but that was simulation. Anyway, all the reporters said there were 3 explosions, and massive explosions to actually destroy the building. And even you can't do that. Even an explosion will not do that. No? Because you have to melt all that steel. Okay, some say that due to collapse, the weight becomes just too much and the beams collapse. But there was nothing to cause the collapse in the first place, because anyway, I could go on. That at the time I was reading many articles, but from even one person, he has a little money. He took on his farm. He kept some steel beams, and he put underneath. He brought a truckload of office furniture, and he kept it underneath, and he set fire. So it burned very nicely for an hour, and after it was finished, the steel beams were still straight. You cannot melt steel beams with office furniture fire, or any fire. So there are many, many reports like that. So why did it all happen? And by chance, the owner of the building, I forget his name, one gentleman, a demon, a few weeks before, he took out new insurance on the buildings. No? Like $2 billion or something. Just by chance, 2 weeks before. He increased the insurance. So, I mean, there's no doubt that this was done by demons. How did they do it, actually? I mean, technically, once when I was living on the other side of the tracks, actually I went to the railway headquarters, and I told them there was a bridge, the goods line bridge across the main line here. There was something wrong with the joint. Every time a train went, the whole bridge was shaking. I could hear it from my house. It was terrible. So I thought, this is very serious. The bridge can collapse. So I personally went to railway headquarters in, where is it called? Metaguda, and I spoke to the chief engineer, and the next day they came in a big SUV, and I said, there's the bridge, and just then a train came, and he heard it. He says, okay, we'll come tomorrow. And they fixed it. They put new track. He told me, well, we haven't got this continuous track that has to come from Calcutta or something, but they did it. So I went and saw how they did it, how they joined two tracks. I have pictures. They put, if this is the track, they put an enclosure like this, and then there's a gap. They have to fill it with welding. So they make like a funnel, and then they pour in, it's called thermite. It's a powder, and they just light it, and it becomes liquid steel. It's liquid steel, and they pour it in, and without welding, without anything like that. So when these demons destroyed that building, if you read reports, the whole of that part of New York was covered with white dust. The street, everywhere, this thick on the windowsill, 2 inches thick white dust. So what is that white dust? Nobody reported, except somebody sent some sample to some laboratory in Europe and maybe some other, and reported this contains thermite micro globules or something. That means the fire was caused by that thermite. They came before, the whole thing was planned by the demons to, why? One is that the owner, if you want to destroy your building to claim the insurance, okay, you may succeed. But to do it on such a massive scale, you need cooperation of others, isn't it? So he had the cooperation of the government, the military. Why? Because they say, aha, you see these gentlemen with the beards living in Afghanistan in a cave, they did it. They are our enemies. They want to destroy our way of life. So this is war on terrorism is declared. Within 2 days, President Bush declared war on terrorism, and you're not allowed to speak. They take away your rights. They can arrest you for any reason. What do they call that?
Martial law.
Huh?
Martial law. Martial law.
Martial law. It wasn't exactly martial law. They had some, it was some program to control, you know, what the media were reporting. Why they do that? What did the demons get out of it? Except the owner, he made a few $100 million from the insurance. Where is he now? We don't hear. They are actually buying bunkers underneath the desert to go and live, because they know the world is going to collapse, so they have plans to go and live there already. But why did they do it? Because the United States' #1 export is what? India's #1 export is what? Khadi dhotis, or what is India's #1 export? Rice and some wheat and things like that. America's #1 export is weapons, missiles, tanks, submarines. So they're to help the poor Ukrainians. They're giving donation. Here's some $5 billion. Yes, take, please. Why? Because who owns these companies that build the missiles and the rockets and the bombs? The same generals who, after being a general for a few years, then they retire. And what did they do? Okay, so they play golf, but they also become one of the managers of these companies that make the rockets and the missiles and the, see? And when they're finished a few years in the company, they come back and join the military as an advisor. They become Secretary of Defense or something, civilians. That's why they're older, you see. That's called the revolving door. You go from the government into the private sector, into the government. Same with the pharmaceutical companies. Revolving door. You know what a revolving door is? In Hyderabad, I think there's only 1 or 2 places. Inside is air conditioned and outside is hot, so nobody should leave the door open. So they have a door that is actually 4 doors, and it rotates, and you go in and you push it and you go around. So only a little bit of hot air comes in and a little bit of cold air comes out. Not that you, that's called a revolving door. Yeah, maybe you've not seen. D-Mart doesn't have one, or some big place.
Yeah, it has. IKEA store.
Very few places have. So that's the whole idea. They're so demon, they don't care that 3,000 of their fellow Americans, they have no loyalty, no national pride, no attachment to the country, to the welfare of the people. In the name of, there's just evil, demonic people. This is what the world is, what is going on in the world. Ukraine, China. Eh? So this, you may say, well, I've never heard any